So last but not least, Entrelac, which I just think is the stitch which is the absolute ultimate of knitting in different directions, because I think there is so much to explore with this stitch. So if you remember, I think I said right at the beginning, with the same number of stitches and rows, it comes out enormously much bigger than stocking stitch. And what you're doing is knitting these little blocks which join as they go, and they all stay on the needle all the time, unlike modular knitting. And I'm not going to go on explaining it because some of you will have done it, and it's so much easier to do it than to talk about it. So that is it. But what I was never very, very happy with myself was I really wanted to see if I could get away from this rather puffy kind of surface that you get. So I've been playing with it, and I found a way of flattening it slightly, partly because there's a little bit of garter stitch at the beginning of each of these blocks. This one was designed looking at paving slabs, so different shades of grey, mottled, dyeing, and it makes the most wonderful shape because, again, you can build it all in one piece. The sleeves grow out of the body and there's no joins, and I rather like the little zigzag edge. What happens if you use other sorts of stitches? This is a slip stitch block which has got garter stitch ridges across it. So if you remember, garter stitch pulls up, so that takes away some of the puffiness. So that's a useful tool. That's got much bigger blocks. So the previous one's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16 going round, and this one's got 4. Yeah, so it's a much bigger one, 4 times as big squares. But it works very well. It's a great shape to play with. And then I thought, well, what would happen if I go completely the opposite way and use ribbing, knit 2, purl 2, rib? And my goodness, you know, the energy in that stitch, I just think is amazing. And it literally dances. So each one is pulling and pushing against its neighbour. And even in a very sort of quiet colour, there is so much going on there. And of course, you've immediately got a bias stitch again. It fits beautifully. The ribbing makes it fit even more. So that's been a lot of fun to play with that design. So I'm going back to looking at how stitches can really make the wool behave differently. This is knitted in garter stitch, and as I said, it's a very kind of static stitch. It sits where you put it, it stays very still. So here, the modular knitting is knitted with the squares in a kind of diamond shape. The decrease goes all the way up the middle, which makes a nice line going vertically. But if you use this very same structure, this same layout of how to place your squares or diamonds, it behaves very differently in different stitches.